Welcome to the show. This time we're diving into Bram Stoker's Dracula. We're starting with, you brought excerpts from the first two chapters, and I gotta say, Jonathan Harker's experiences in Transylvania, that's the perfect place to start.
Oh, absolutely, a classic. It's really a masterclass in Gothic horror, wouldn't you say? Stoker, he doesn't just, like, throw vampires at us. He builds this feeling, like this sense of unease,
Yeah.
this creeping dread from the very first page.
You're telling me. It's like we're right there with Harker, traveling deeper and deeper into these isolated mountains, this really remote region, and he describes like a sea of green treetops hiding deep rifts and chasms. It's a landscape that's both beautiful and threatening, you know what I mean?
Exactly. It's that combination that really gets under your skin. And Stoker, he uses those vivid descriptions of nature to create this atmosphere of foreboding, right? Like, remember when Harker says the castle's silence was so profound that he could hear the murmur of his own blood?
Oh, yeah.
That's not just evocative writing. It's Stoker's way of, foreshadowing those unnatural events that are coming.
Right, right. It's like the setting itself is a character kind of reflecting this darkness that we know is lurking beneath the surface.
I like that.
And speaking of characters, we have to talk about that first encounter with Dracula. I mean, wow. Here's Harker, this rational dude, a modern solicitor, suddenly face to face with something that just embodies the uncanny.
Someone who really makes you question, like, what's real,
Yeah.
from the very beginning. And Harker he's both drawn to and repulsed by the Count, by his charisma and that old world charm. But then there are these little details. Remember that courtly gesture that Harker notes, how it feels stiff and unnatural, or the handshake cold as ice? I mean, it sends chills down your spine.
Yeah, like looking in a warped mirror or something.
Yeah.
You recognize the form, but there's something deeply wrong.
Exactly.
And it just intensifies the more time Harker spends in the castle.
Oh, for sure, because the castle, it becomes like a microcosm of Dracula himself. This place full of contradictions. You have lavish furniture, hints of immense wealth, but then there's this complete lack of, modern amenities.
Yeah, it's like stepping back in time, but not in a good way. Like unsettling. No mirrors, no bells, no servants. It's opulent, but strangely empty.
Yes, yes.
And yet you have this whole library filled with English books. Like Dracula's so meticulously prepared for London. That's what gets me, that calculated nature.
Absolutely. And we can't forget, the significance of Harker finding that library, especially given his situation.
Yeah,
He's a man of reason, right?
Yeah.
And he's trapped in this world of shadows, clinging to anything familiar.
Right.
And those books, especially the legal ones, it's like a brief moment of relief from the overwhelming unknown.
Yeah, like a little island of normalcy in this sea of weirdness. But it's a false sense of security, isn't it? Because every interaction, every observation, it just pulls Harker deeper into Dracula's world.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, remember when Harker wakes up and Dracula's gone, but there's this lavish breakfast laid out for him.
Oh, yeah.
But no bell to summon a servant.
Right.
It's like the castle itself is messing with him.
It's true. It's like Stoker is so good at showing that clash between Harker's rational mind and the increasingly irrational reality he's facing. I mean, this is a guy, he thrives on order, logic, and here he is in a situation where the rules don't apply.
Right.
He's surrounded by abundance.
Yes.
I mean, amazing food appears out of nowhere. There are priceless antiques everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's all designed to disorient him, to take away his control.
And don't forget the lack of mirrors. It's not just a spooky detail. It's like Harker's losing his own reflection, his sense of self, as he gets pulled deeper into Dracula's orbit.
Yes, precisely. It's like he's fading away. And this whole theme of disappearance, of things not being what they seem, it comes up again when Harker finds that atlas in the library, remember?
Oh, yeah. The one with the rings marking those specific places in England, London, Exeter,
Yeah.
Whitby. It's like suddenly this terrifying puzzle box swings open. We and Harker, we start to see the scope of Dracula's plan, and it's chilling.
It really is.
This isn't just some creepy count staying in his castle. He's got bigger plans.
And the really scary part is that Harker, he's still kind of clinging to the idea that Dracula's just this harmless eccentric. So he's helping him with these plans without even realizing it. Like when he gives him all the details about the estate of Purfleet, he's basically handing over the keys to the kingdom.
It's such a clever manipulation tactic. Dracula's using Harker's sense of duty, his professionalism, against him. And speaking of manipulation, we have to talk about that conversation about the treasure in the blue flames.
Oh, yes. The blue flame.
It's like Dracula's reeling him in.
Absolutely. The blue flames, this buried treasure, they become a metaphor for the allure of the unknown. Harker, he's driven by curiosity, maybe even a little greed, and that allows Dracula to draw him in deeper with these stories and half-truths.
It's the first time we really see Dracula opening up, letting us see past the charming facade. And what does he talk about? The land being drenched in the blood of patriots or invaders.
Right.
And he says it with such a coldness, it's chilling.
Absolutely. And then he mocks the local peasants for being too scared to even look for the treasure. It's like Stoker subtly showing us what Dracula really is. He's not just a monster, he's a predator. And he sees humans, whether they're superstitious peasants or rational men like Harker, as weak, easy to manipulate.
Wow, yeah. He's playing a different game entirely.
Exactly. A game no one else can even understand. And that brings us to that moment when the illusion completely shatters. Remember, Harker's working late with the Count, all about the estate, when the rooster crows.
Oh, yeah, dawn's breaking.
And Dracula, who's always so in control,
Totally loses it.
he practically shoves Harker out the door, tells him to go to bed, but his voice is full of this panic we've never heard before.
Like he's really scared of the sun.
Exactly. It's like a glimpse behind the curtain. Even with all his power, Dracula is still bound by these primal urges, these forces he can't control.
And that actually makes him even scarier.
Right.
Like, for a second, he's not this mastermind. He's almost primal.
Exactly. It shows you how deep those instincts run. And that makes his whole thing with Harker even creepier. Like, he's playing on Harker's logical mind, his manners, to keep throwing him off, to make him doubt himself.
Totally. And speaking of creepy, can we talk about that scene where Harker's shaving and he, feels Dracula behind him?
Oh, yeah.
But when Harker turns to look in the mirror, there's nothing there. Pure nightmare fuel.
It's such a classic vampire thing. And Stoker uses it perfectly to make Harker feel even more alone, more scared. It's not just that Dracula's literally not in the mirror. It's like Harker's starting to fade too. Remember, he's already surrounded by all this stuff about mortality, no reflections, the castle's always silent.
Right.
Now he's like, am I even really seeing things? It's messed up.
And the way Dracula freaks out over a little shaving cut, that raw rage.
Oh, yeah, like a mask just slips for a second.
Exactly.
But then he just, bam, pulls himself together, blames the mirror, calls it, what was it, a foul bauble of man's vanity. It's so real.
Classic Dracula move. Deflect, redirect. And poor Harker, he's already so on edge, trapped in this castle.
And the castle.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started. Everywhere he goes, locked doors, bolted shut.
He even writes in his journal, "The castle is a veritable prison, and I am a prisoner."
No kidding. He's not just physically trapped, though, right? It's like his mind's a prison now, too. This whole situation, he's in way over his head, and he knows it. So he tries to hold on to reason, to his work. He writes all those descriptions of the castle, the architecture, like it's just another real estate gig.
Like, if he focuses on the physical details, it's not really happening,
Exactly. Trying to create a little normal in this completely abnormal situation.
Yeah.
But even as he's writing, the truth is right there. The locked doors, the missing reflections, that creepy Count.
It's what makes these early chapters so good. Stoker just nails that feeling, the dread, like something awful is coming. But he doesn't show you the monster yet? Not really.
He makes you wait for it.
Exactly. And it leaves you with that question hanging there. What happens when it finally comes out?
And maybe an even bigger question.
Yeah.
Why do we like these stories so much? These glimpses into the dark, the unknown. What does that say about us? Anyway, something to think about as we wrap up this deep dive into Dracula. Thanks for listening.